Being found online just used to be about SEO or search engine optimization. Now it's about GEO as well, Generative Engine Optimization, being found by AI. Today I'm going to share with you 7 things that AI already knows about you and how you can control the narrative. All right, today this is going to be super tactical. It's going to give you the ability to understand exactly what it is that AI is looking for and how you can frame those things in a way that gives you the ability to be ranked or be suggested by AI as the neighborhood and the city expert for your area. So a couple things we're going to start with is what does it know about you? First thing it knows is it knows who you are and your reputation. Now, this is formed by a couple of things. This is formed by the bios that you have on your website, on social media, on any online platforms like Zillow, Reddit, any of those platforms, Agent Pronto, some of the things that you would not necessarily think about. So one of the things that it does is it's looking for consistency. So we want to have a consistent bio from every single platform. A couple of other things that it looks for is it may not be able to go into Google Business Profile and read the reviews, and it may not even be able to tell you how many reviews you have over there. So what you can do is in your bios, if you have a number of reviews, you may want to say something like over 100 5-star reviews as a real estate agent in your city. You want to be very specific. Think of it from a way that people might search. This shows authority. A couple of things it does as far as your reputation is, it is going to look at the reviews that you have on your website and the places that it can see, like Zillow and some of those other places. So you want to make sure that you're positioning yourself there where these are quotable things. So if you have the opportunity to coach some of the people that are leaving reviews for you, because look, we've all got some of those folks that were great clients, they become friends, and we can ask them to put specific things in there. This is a great way to make sure that you're framing yourself as the local expert. Utilize the opportunity you have in your bios on both social media, your website, all of the search portals, so that you make sure there's consistency and that it shows you as the expert you are in your local market. Now, I mentioned this before, but I want to dive a little bit deeper in number 2, and that is it can see your reviews. Now, I mentioned that there are certain websites where maybe it can't see all the reviews or read them yet. I think that's going to change. But what it can do is it can see the breadth of reviews that you have across. I mentioned having those on your website, having those on Zillow, having those on different places. The key on this is to diversify where you're getting those reviews. I would say this, if you're wanting to focus in one place, where I would start is with Google, because not only, look, search engine optimization is not dead, and by utilizing that Google business profile page, you have a hub. So what I like to do is I like to think of it almost like, you know, I've used this as a term with marketing, is that you have a hub and spoke. It's kind of a hub and spoke type of marketing. So I want to have a hub. For me, for reviews, that hub should always be Google, because people are going to go on and they're going to Google you before they work with you. Or now they're going to go on and they're going to go to AI, ChatGPT, or whatever they're using, and they're going to ask to know a little more information about you. The key is to have consistency with these and to spread these out over different portals. So what I like to do is I like to say, hey, start with Google. Make sure you've maximized those reviews. And then once you've got those reviews there, if you've got a good client that you can ask for, just take that review that they left there, copy it and put it in an email and say, also, I truly do appreciate you doing this review for me on Google. There are a couple other places. If you'd like, I've made it easy. Here's a link to wherever you want it to have it in other places. Maybe it is something where it's Rate My Agent. Maybe you're looking at Zillow, Realtor.com, and you say, here's a link to that. If you'd like, if you would just take the time to copy that and paste it over there, it'd be super helpful to my business. This is a great way to get your reviews spread out over a number of different portals. When you see, when their AI is looking at this and it sees consistency and it sees you on multiple platforms with reviews, it's going to show you as the expert that you want to be. So make sure you're focusing in and that you're having reviews that are easy for AI to understand, that are quotable, and you're going to see better results. The third thing that AI can see is it can see your social media content. Now, I'm not just talking about on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those. It will absolutely see those, but it sees YouTube content as well. So a couple of things we can do here to make sure that we're seen as that local expert. Again, think of it this way. Niching is going to actually help us. So think about the type of content that you're going to use that maybe would show you as that expert. We've seen this recently also is that there is a recency bias. We had one of our agents, Colby Anderson, who had posted about a specific neighborhood, and they asked him about that specific, they asked for an agent in that specific neighborhood. It quoted in there that he posted on Instagram about this neighborhood last week. So consistency is key. Also, think about when you're doing those, when you're talking in the videos or when you're doing the type of videos you're doing, make them hyper-local. Put your location, not just as your city, but maybe a neighborhood or a certain area that you want to be the expert or known as the expert in. Types of content that you can do is sharing lifestyle content, share about the trails in the area, the schools in the area, share about the differences between specific neighborhoods. The more you give it as far as information about those areas, the better it's going to understand on that you are hyper local as far as your expertise, and it's going to want to share that information with others as they ask. Now let's talk about YouTube a little bit. A couple things on YouTube. Make sure that you're taking the transcript, especially on short form video, and you're putting that in as the description. It does two things. It gives clarity to YouTube for it to understand exactly what the video is about, because it's both listening and it's also reading the description you have. And when it gets clarity there, it helps promote that video or get the algorithm to share it more. It also, by doing that, gives you the ability for AI as it comes in to see those transcripts and grab that information as well. Also, when you're doing a little bit longer form video for YouTube, take and break that into smaller pieces. Share it out. Going back to the hub and spoke that we talked about earlier. Basically having, if you're using a long form video, let that be the hub. The spokes would be short form video to TikTok, short form video going out that you would share on Instagram, and maybe even converting some of those things, and you can use ChatGPT to do this, taking that transcript from that long form video and asking ChatGPT to convert that to an SEO and GEO optimized post for LinkedIn with that video content. You'd be amazed at what you'd see now. So what we're doing is we're taking the content we're doing, because it can absolutely see the content you have on social media, and we're utilizing that for it to show your expertise in a hyper local environment. The fourth thing that AI can see is it can see your transaction and your market activity. So what is it that we can do to feed it more of that information so that it has that? It can see things in MLS. It can see sales that are documented. It can also see when you're documenting those on social media, YouTube, and on some of the platforms like LinkedIn. So what can we do is to share the success stories that you have. So when you have a sale, tell the story of how you helped that client in that specific neighborhood overcome some type of an obstacle and get them to the closing where they got what they wanted, which is either selling their house and moving on with their life, or it was finding the ideal home for them and their family. These are the stories we need to and things we need to be sharing. Also, think of it from a standpoint of sharing those testimonials. Share the testimonials in a way that gives you credibility and shows activity that's happened. And listen, even if you're in a position where you haven't had a ton of activities, you can go back and share stories from years before. The AI is not going to say, oh, well, that happened 2 years ago. It's just going to see that you posted about a sale and you shared the story of how you helped that client overcome an obstacle and get them to the opportunity to get to the closing table. So these are things that we can do. It's going to understand when you're doing business and when you're not. And the best way to make sure that it understands the business you're doing is to share those stories on social media, on LinkedIn, and also on YouTube. The next thing that AI is already seeing is it's seeing your visuals, your photos, your videos. So we want to make sure we've got consistency and we've got quality in all of those. Now, what am I talking about here? This is your listing videos. This is your social media content. This is the thumbnails even that you're using on YouTube or you're using on Instagram and Facebook. So a couple things that we can do here is make sure your brand colors are consistent so that it recognize those things. A couple of other things is when you're loading photos or you're loading videos up onto your Google Business Profile page, it doesn't give you the ability necessarily to put a description of that, but you can go in and actually take, when you're titling the file before you load it up, and utilize some of the search words. So for instance, if you have a home that is for sale and it's a photo of your listing, put the address, the city, the neighborhood even, photo of a home for sale. Now this is going to give you the ability. It may sound long when you're doing that description for that, for the file that you're going to upload, but when you title it that way, then you've got something that Google can actually recognize, and it has a little bit of Google juice, so to speak, so that you can get recognized on that. When you're doing your videos, think about the visuals that you have on the videos. More high quality is going to get you more recognition with the AI. Now, there are certain platforms that obviously you're going to want to just be natural in. That's the TikTok stuff. That's what you're going to do on your stories. But when we're thinking about the things that AI is going to actually pick up on, the images it's going to pick up on, you're going to be really thinking about some of the still photos you have. And this is where we want to make sure that we do that at the highest quality possible, because it positions us in the best way possible. The sixth thing that AI notices is it notices local authority signals. Now, what are these? These are signals that you're actually involved in your community. Now, a couple of things we can do there, and I'm going to just start with the framing of this, is we can do specific types of content. So this would be where we would talk about like 5 great restaurants for a date night in your city. This could be where we were talking about places to go where kids have the opportunity to have fall festivals. This could be something where we're talking about best places to see fireworks on 4th of July. These are blog blog posts that we're sharing that show you as someone who is actively sharing information about your community. It signals to the AI that not only are you a realtor, but you're actually a resource for all information about your local community. Now, a couple of other things that it looks for. It looks for authority signals where you're actually tied in. So this could be something where if you're active in your local school, or you're active with a little league team, or whatever you're doing in your or a specific charity, document some of the events that are coming up for that. So if there's a fundraiser, for instance, write a blog post for your area talking about the fundraiser that's coming up and having them reach out to you for additional details. This signals the AI that not only are you just a realtor in the community, but you're actually active in that community. Think about what you can do to highlight specific things that are going on in your community on a consistent basis on social media, on YouTube, and also when you're writing your blog posts. And now all of a sudden you've sent a signal that you're not just a realtor, but you're actually the person to contact for all things in your local community. So the last thing that AI is going to look for is going to look for you to be a thought leader. Now, the thought leadership that we're talking about is both in your local community as well as giving you the ability to be a thought leader on the national level. Now, a couple of ways that we can do this, okay? We were talking about showing how you're involved in your community, but what is it that you can be noticed as that thought leader? This is where we can get active with local newspapers, we can get active with local TV stations, local radio, and local podcasts. Now, I'm going to give you a couple ways to do this. Now, there are a couple of resources online that you can utilize to find out how you can help with some of these local news stations or some of the different things. One is called Quoted. It's QWOTED, I believe. But Quoted is a place where people will ask questions for reports or for reporters, and then they will quote you from what you answer those questions. This is a great way to put some signals in there where you're searching this for your local area. Also, Help a Reporter Out. This is a place where questions are asked by reporters, typically on the national level, but also on the local level, where they have specific questions. And if you put the keywords in for real estate, or you put the keywords in for certain things, these are great ways that you can become the resource for those reporters. If you have a local TV station, get to know the editor or the person who is actually in that is working on those things. If you find that person and you begin to build a relationship and you become the person they lean on for information about the local area, you're going to absolutely get some additional local authority. Another way is to get interviewed on local podcasts. Is there a local podcast that interviews people in your local community? If there's not, this may be the opportunity for you to interview business owners, interview some of the political figures, interview some of the people that are involved in the local school system. This is a great way for you to become known as having someone that has local authority, someone that people look to for answers. When you become that local authority, now all of a sudden we've got something where people begin to recognize you as a leader in your area. Another great way to see this is to post social media about what's happening in your area. This could be infrastructure updates about things that are happening with new developments. This could be new restaurants opening. This could be a number of different things that you can actually do. There are a number of people that do this really well. Alyssa Kernett out of Spokane, Washington is probably one of the best agents you can see doing this on Instagram. I would follow her. Notice what she's doing. See these examples and then roll those into your local market. You see, when you do the things where you position yourself for AI to find you and you actually frame it in a way that it gives you the ability to be known as the local source for all information, not just a real estate resource, everything begins to change. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. I specifically chose the video below for you because it builds on the one you just watched. I hope it's helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.